What's up guys, ProDragon07 here, and today I'm counting down the manliest moneymakers in OSRS. There is of course an extensive list on the wiki ranking the best moneymakers in the game, but this goes off of GP per hour alone, and as we all know, that's only a small part of the equation when it comes to ranking moneymakers. All the most profitable activities in this game right now are bosses. You've got Duo Nex, Fortis Coliseum, raids, all that stuff, and that's all great if you're a nerd, but if at any point for once in your life you actually decide to man up, these moneymakers are gonna be your best bet. Number 5 is Blast Furnace. This is an obvious one. You are working with metal, smelting bars, which will soon be used to make armor and weapons that will then be high out or sold in bulk on the GE. Obviously gold bars are the fastest XP, but since you're actually here for the coin, you'll be smelting adamant bars because they're apparently the best money right now, sitting around 839k gold per hour according to the wiki. This is a very solid GP rate as it's enough to make some legitimate progress in the game, but it isn't too much gold, as any more than this would make your life too easy. If you make too much gold too fast, you become weak, and that's why PVMers in today's game are soft, and they never would have lasted back in 2004. The fact that you'll be smithing adamant is a plus because this has a 3-to-1 coal to addy ratio, meaning you can't just mindlessly dump the same ore into the furnace like you can with gold. This will keep you from getting too comfortable, as comfort breeds complacency. The thing that takes Blast Furnace to the next level is the atmosphere. It looks extremely hot, potentially dangerous. The working conditions are absolutely terrible, and none of the workers really seem like they're having a good time. You've got dwarves yelling about ores that are supposedly being exchanged. Meanwhile, the actual players inside Blast Furnace aren't saying a word, mostly because it's click intensive enough to make talking inconvenient. That and the fact that half of these players are bots. Make no mistake about it, Blast Furnace is some manly content. Coming in at number 4, we have making unfinished potions at the Grand Exchange. Now, which potion you should actually be making varies wildly because this is a heavily botted activity, but if you get in at the right time with the right potion, you can make upwards of 1 mil per hour. And if you get in at the wrong time, you can lose money. This gambling aspect, along with the absolute monotony of this method, makes it one of the manliest ways to make GP in the entire game. The best part of all of this is that you don't actually gain any XP while making these potions. When you are gaining valuable XP while making money, as in the case of something like a profitable Slayer task, it negates the value of the grind itself, as it tends to make the time spent on the activity feel more rewarding and go by faster. This is a bad thing. You shouldn't be losing track of how much money you're making because you're also happy with the amount of XP that you're gaining. Accomplishing multiple goals with the same task will cause you to become needy and complacent in the long run. This is why this method is definitively ahead of Blast Furnace, because with Blast Furnace you may get a smithing level occasionally, which could cause a dopamine rush, and this is a major downside. Making unfinished potions, on the other hand, will starve you of any dopamine, and you'll also be competing with a ton of bots, which is not a bad thing. You should wear this as a badge of honor. You are one of the few players that is manly enough to do an activity that most real players wouldn't dare touch. Other players might think that they're above you because they're actually doing quote-unquote hard content, but the thing about bosses is they keep getting easier the more that you do them. However, making unfinished potions never gets any easier because it's already brain dead. In fact, it only gets harder the more you do it, and it requires extreme mental strength that PVMers could only dream of. At number 3, we have crushing unicorn horns. Now, you may think that unicorns don't sound very manly, but it's not like you're making friends with them or anything. Instead, you're going to be casually grinding up the horns of unicorns that were killed in cold blood. This is very similar to making unfinished potions in the fact that you get 0 XP while relying on wildly fluctuating prices to swing in your favor, but the thing that makes this better is the fact that to do it efficiently, you need to manually click each unicorn horn on the mortar and pestle, making it one of the more click-intensive activities in the game. You should do this money-making method around 12 to 14 hours a day to ensure that the health of your wrist is completely neglected said, productiveness is always going to come before health. You'll be rewarded at the end of a long hard grinding session with the knowledge that you are better than people who took the easy way out by making more money than you with just a couple of hours of PVM. You can let these people know that they are weak and that they lack character and discipline. Coming in at number 2, we have casting Superglass Make. This spell is mostly used by irons who actually need the glass for crafting XP, but you'll be doing it on a main to make approximately 400k gold per hour. Despite the fact that you'll gain a bit of mage and crafting XP while doing this, it is nonetheless a very manly activity. For one thing, you will need to withdraw 18 buckets of sand and 3 pieces of giant seaweed for each cast of this spell. This is going to be awkward as you will not be able to just withdraw consistent amounts of one supply. Instead, you'll have to devise a system, such as setting up your withdraw X to 18 for the buckets of sand, and then shift clicking the seaweed 3 times to get the proper inventory. Doing this over and over again will get extremely tedious and will strengthen your mind to new heights that you previously thought unreachable. This is basically the equivalent of Spartan training in OSRS, and yet this isn't even the best part of this money-making method. See, when you cast Superglass Make, the amount of glass you get actually varies, and if it's more than a full inventory, excess glass is just dumped on the ground. It is inefficient to pick up this glass, however. You are better off just using the time to make more glass. This is a very good feature for a number of reasons. For one, it will test your mental strength once again, as you will be forced to leave free items on the ground and watch them despawn, or worse, have other players run over and pick them up. Also, the fact that you're recklessly dumping glass all over the ground can be equated to littering and shows that you don't give a shit about the environment, which is of course a total alpha mindset to have. Lastly, other players might not know what you're doing and ask why you're dropping glass, which gives you the perfect opportunity to lecture them about your work ethic, which they clearly do not possess. Finally, we have number 1. Guys, the manliest moneymaker in OSRS is unquestionably fishing trawler, and it's not even close. The money is absolutely terrible, so bad it's not even listed on the money making wiki, and the XP is probably even worse. Jagex made a decent sized blunder a few years back by reducing the length of a round from 10 minutes to 5, but that just means you have to bring twice the intensity to each round. Now of course, because this activity makes so little money, you have to put in a ton of hours to make any decent chunk of coin, and the more hours you put into an activity, the stronger your mind becomes, and that's not even touching on the atmosphere of Fishing Trawler, which is what really sets this apart from any other content in the game. You are packed into this shitty looking ship like sardines with other players, forced to bail water and repair holes in the ship, all while periodically getting attacked by a wild kraken who wants nothing more than to see you fail. Some people could argue that there's AFK time in Trawler if you get max contribution before the round ends, but I'd argue this is no excuse to stop repairing the ship. A real man is not defined by what he does when it matters. No, it's all about what he does when it doesn't matter, and it makes literally no difference. I think that's how the saying goes anyway. I will see you guys in the next one.